Hello everyone, welcome back. And today we're going to be doing a little bit of an analysis. Somebody by the name of Internet Anarchist, bigger content creator by far, dropped a video covering the recent behaviors or collective decisions of Destiny, a political commentator. Some of you may know him, some of you may not. I myself have very little exposure and experience with this person. I think the last time I was aware was during Shoe on Head's video of Democratic criticism. I always find situations like these to be very unique and interesting, and I figured it'd be a good opportunity to attempt to form a perspective based on what's provided. I understand the significance of context. If someone has a hit piece of a video, it's more likely that they're going to portray the worst parts of people in order to highlight their points. And I think that maybe there's a chance we may be able to see some things that others don't. With that being said, if you've been enjoying the content, please consider subscribing, as it does help a lot. So without further ado, let's dive into this.
I'm genuinely baffled at how this guy has an audience after all the shit he has said and done. He should get insta-banned on all platforms and thrown in jail. This comment perfectly summarizes the way the internet feels about the political streamer Destiny. And judging from the way things are right now, it's only downhill from here. From laughing about doxing someone,
I literally just doxed that girl. The one that tried to throw egg on me like a week or two ago. Like, I don't give a fuck about like doxing.
to proudly claiming to be pro-genocide.
I'm pro-genocide. It sounds really shitty, but like I think that Israel should just drop its fucking borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like that's about where I'm at.
And even defending PDF files.
Let's say there's a person that's like 30 years old and tries to like randomly like 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds. I don't think that would be considered grooming.
Destiny has managed to get away with doing and saying a lot of horrible stuff over the years. His most recent scandal involves him secretly recording his partners in bed and then sharing those videos with strangers without consent. When the allegations first came out, he probably thought he would dodge the consequences like always. However, the consequences of his own actions have finally caught up with him. This controversy has sparked enough backlash to sink his online reputation.
So far as it's been a hyper focus on specific ways to phrase things because it allows you to avoid the bigger picture. And you can kind of see this in various excusatory responses where people use very, very nuanced and niche examples. So that way it detracts from the overall thing that's going to make you look at moral character, the bigger picture and principle, right? Because if you hyper focus on the edge of those frames, you're going to see a crack of escape that you can possibly wiggle through. And that is put forth as a plausible argument because you're creating such a unique scenario that allows you to think twice about the principle. And essentially, you're just abusing the principle to escape with a justifiable behavior. And we're going to see more, I'm sure. But this phenomenon of this choice of behavior and this hyper focus on things like this, it's not unknown to me, and it's not unknown to the people that understand how people try to escape condemnation of their actions because of an immoral perspective. But morality, immorality, a lot of people feel subjective, and in most cases it is, but that's obviously a different conversation.
For good, and there's nothing he can do to avoid his fate this time. Hi, I'm the Internet Anarchist. I create weekly YouTube documentaries, and today we're diving into the well-earned downfall of Destiny. From his long history of alleged predatory behavior to the scandal that finally made even his most loyal fans turn against him. And if things keep unfolding the way they are, Destiny cannot just lose his career, but his freedom as well. But before we get into what he's done, let's take a brief look at who Destiny even is. Stephen Kenneth Bennell II, better known as
I thought he was going to hit me with a sponsor.
His online career in 2011 after quitting his job as a carpet cleaner. He began streaming StarCraft 2 on now defunct streaming sites like Livestream.com, Ustream.tv, and Justin TV, which later became Twitch.
Cam, we got this. Force field, do it. Cut the army in half.
That same year, he joined an esports team for StarCraft 2 and started competing professionally.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us. This is Cats Pajamas here for IGN Pro League. Once again, I am joined by Stephen Bennell, one Root Destiny. Thanks very much for joining us, and congratulations on IPL Season 2 qualification.
His success in esports gave him the exposure to transition into full-time streaming, a path he pursued for the next 5 years. However, starting in 2016, Destiny began shifting his focus away from gaming and more towards politics.
Who do you think won the vice presidential debate?
Depends on how you define winning.
Well, how do you define winning? What do you care about in these debates?
I care about people that are adhering to the truth.
Surprisingly, his political content quickly became far more popular than his gaming content ever was, resulting in him gaining nearly 1.2 million subscribers on YouTube.
I mean, it's pretty common phenomenon if you think about it. I mean, I think Asmongold had the same upbringing. Obviously, someone who was hyper focused on gaming and had some pretty provocative content overall. And now he's become more subtle in a lot of things because he's learned over time that various behaviors were unacceptable. But you can kind of see where they create this following in other spaces and then they take it to an inflammatory environment, I guess, if you will. And then obviously that kind of skyrockets into even more. And on the other side, because they often get a lot of hate, it's like, what does this gamer know about the world? And what does this gamer know about politics? At the end of the day, what you integrate yourself into is going to become your knowledge base. And I think that people start off with a following. They just have a lot of perspectives and takes that aren't tied to what they're doing at the time. But that doesn't take away from the fact that they've had this kind of interest maybe for a while, and then they finally got the platform and then became something with it.
And over 800,000 followers on streaming platforms. But for many of his early fans, his switch to political content signaled a turn for the worse. And unfortunately, their fears turned out to be completely justified. As time went on, Destiny started having more and more unhinged takes on sensitive topics, like defending the distribution of CP based on his extremely flawed logic.
Men that are given access to child pornography have a higher chance of not actually committing pedophilia actions in real life, and I would argue that that would be a moral good, that if you can prevent people from acting on those urges, that's something that should be explored.
This quickly turned him into one of the most...
That's not exactly how that panned out. It was in short-term successes. Longitudinal studies go back to the desperate requirement of power, especially in the psychopathic morality that doesn't exist. There's only so much you can derive before you're desensitized. And sure, in the short term, it achieves a form of relief, but that doesn't mean in the long term it achieves the same thing. It gets worse. And once you get desensitized because you develop a tolerance to the thing that you used to appreciate, kind of like drugs, right? Because that's typically the correlation or association with things like monstrous activities like this, that doesn't justify the shit later on. But I can already tell diving into some of these takes is going to be very interesting.
Controversial streamers on the internet. However, these outlandish statements also allowed him to build a cult-like loyal fan base.
And it makes me wonder if, are these takes and perspectives, was this to draw the crowd? Is this unbeknownst to the audience kind of level trolling where, you know, you heighten your surrounding by saying things that draw an impression, good or bad, right? For the sake of fame, for the sake of...
One that was willing to defend him no matter what he did. As a comment on Reddit puts it, Destiny is the only guy who can literally get away with whatever he wants because his fans brigade internet spaces until the narrative is so diluted that people forget what a piece of shit hack fraud he is. With a fan base willing to defend him at all costs, Destiny had no incentive to hold back, leading to a long list of controversies that only grew worse over time. Unfortunately, there's no practical way to cover every single horrible thing he's said or done over the course of his career. There's simply too much to go over. That said, most of his unhinged behavior falls into a few clear categories. The first of which is him being a massive creep. Like in 2015, when an adult star posted a tweet about getting essayed by a co-star. The tweet will have to be censored due to how graphic it is. However, after coming across this, a normal person would either offer support or just ignore the tweet and move on. Destiny, however, took a much darker route, choosing to insult her and other survivors of Grape with vile comments like, "Jesus, why not file an effing police report instead of tweeting this? You're effing disgusting, what an effing idiot." When someone called him out for his unhinged comment saying, "Stephen Bonnell, why don't you write us a long list of everything you feel a survivor of Grape should do? Then I'll use it to wipe my ass." Destiny doubled down and made things worse. He responded with, "Survivor of Grape? It's Grape, not murder, not beheading, not a fatal car crash. Everyone survives Grape. Get over yourself." From here, things only got worse. Survivor of Grape here, hello. Want to talk about how hard it is to go on every day? Where Destiny would respond with, blank yourself so you don't have to live with the pain. But his disgusting rant didn't end here. Right after this, Destiny got into an argument with another woman over the definition of grape. She posted an argument stating, at Stephen Bonnell, ignoring a safe word and not stopping when someone asks is ignoring consent and is grape. Go F yourself. And instead of presenting a counter argument, Destiny completely flew off the handle, wishing violence on her in a horrific response. Yourself, you effing. I hope you get graped with a effing shovel until you bleed out your effing and die wholly. This, along with several other instances of him mocking and belittling assault victims, is why many in the YouTube community see him as a grape apologist. However, even this pales in comparison to his disturbing stance on PDF files, which includes defending.
I understand that people that have undergone various forms of trauma, to put it plainly, I don't think internet spaces are a place to speak on something so delicate. Now, I understand people that have gone through traumatic experiences, they want likeness and comfort in the world and just a sense of understanding because they don't understand the chaos that they went through. Or at least that's what they're coming to terms with or trying to understand. Putting it out there in internet space allows you to be preyed upon. And I know that you have this intention of being understood. And sometimes it's like a high ground for some. It's very interesting because you saw it with the Me Too movement, where people that didn't have anything happen to them used it as a weapon. And I feel that sexual assault has been weaponized to a point where it desensitizes the legitimacy of people who have gone through that. And it's not fair. It's not fair to the people that have actually gone through those traumatic experiences. Here's the thing. Putting it out there for the world to prey upon and being naive in the idea that the world is going to treat you with some form of empathy it's naive, because the world doesn't owe you empathy, and having an expectation or entitlement to it doesn't make it so. And that's kind of my point on putting it out there. Don't put it out there, because you have monsters that have these kind of responses. What is that going to do for you? You're yelling at a wall, you're yelling at rain. They're not going to change because of how strongly you feel of your belief. And that's kind of what you see in the political divide as well, it seems.
Their actions.
I don't like predators, period. I don't care if you're offending or not offending.
Okay, hold on. Who disagrees with Brittany? Who disagrees with Brittany?
If you just because you molest a child doesn't
I
make
don't
you
disagree
a pedophile.
with
That's
her.
not.
Claiming that an adult s***ing a minor is not grooming.
Let's say there's a person that's like 30 years old and tries to like randomly sext like 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds. That wouldn't be. I don't think that would be considered grooming.
And even debating the quote benefits of CP.
Apparently, men that are given access to child pornography have a
we saw
higher
this.
chance of not actually committing pedophilia actions in real life. And I would argue that that would be a moral good, that if you can prevent people from acting on those urges, that's something that should be explored.
What about child pornography?
That's kind of a different thing. There's like moral versus pragmatic sides of that. I've seen a little bit of evidence on the pragmatic side, and it seems like an okay thing. I probably shouldn't say that, or it sounds.
Does that not sound like the argument of, if you have a drug addict, maybe you should give them a little heroin because it's going to make them less likely to pursue or steal or commit violence for the sake of heroin, because at least they're getting heroin now and it's in some form of a controlled environment, and that's where you get these like drug clinics from, right? And that's very controversial, isn't it? That's not to say that it's going to work. The issue here is that it involves the innocence of children. Heroin is pretty obvious and objective. Involving children in a space and used in the same format like they're drugs. Some of the largest psychopathic and sociopathic studies are on incarcerated pedophiles. And the biggest thing they test for is the likeliness to do it again or have signs of continuous behavior. If you're trying to ensure a tolerance for something else or create room for something else, you don't use the thing you're trying to acquit yourself of in order to achieve it. And various amount of studies prove that concept. But this is kind of what I'm saying in reference to people using minute and niche specifics to be able to wiggle through the crack in the frame of the bigger picture called principle. And we can apply this concept to more than just this kind of discussion. Think about when we speak on concepts like honesty. The idea is to be genuine or at least authentic throughout your experience with another human being. The overall principle is to be honest. But how many people find wiggle room of choosing the more acceptable behavior, maybe choosing social facilitation, maybe choosing the thing that is more agreeable because it causes less conflict, but even though the conflict might have been necessary, right? And honesty would have led to that. And it's not in the sense that you're an animal to these people and you're cruel. That's not what honesty means. It doesn't mean that you get to enact an impulsive release of some kind of monstrous behavior in order to hurt someone's feelings. That's not what honesty means. But it's in the sense of being truthful, at least not lying to yourself. And you can think of how many times that you've addressed someone's ability to be honest, and instead they found a little wiggle room. They found a little specifics. It's like, okay, I'll stop lying about that one thing that I'm doing, but I'm going to continue to lie about these other areas because that's not implicit in what I said. And when you're trying to drive a principle like honesty home, that's kind of what you're dealing with on a case-to-case basis, or when you're raising kids, or when you have your partner, when you have a friendship that you're trying to improve or rehabilitate, right? And I think that's kind of the same concept.
He has also gone on record to say that he finds some underage girls hot.
And again, like some of it, I guess, sounds uncomfortable. Some people, like if you're being real, like a 21-year-old, 22-year-old, like there are some 15, 16-year-old chicks that like look pretty fucking hot. Like I can't help that. Like some people mature fucking old.
Now, some might argue that he's simply playing devil's advocate in most of these cases and doesn't actually believe anything he's saying. But even if we give him benefit of the doubt, there's no plausible justification for these tweets from July of 2022. It all started with Max Carson, who posted a poll on Twitter asking women, quote, "At what age should men start ogling/flirting with you?" And when a girl named Courtney replied to this tweet with 10, Destiny replied to her asking for pictures, stating, "You were hot at 10? Any pics?" She actually sent him the pictures. And after taking a good look at them, Destiny replied with one of the most unbelievably disgusting statements he could, reading, "Jesus, I've never wanted to bend someone over the hood of their little tykes so bad." For those who don't know, Little Tykes is the name of a mini car for children. Some of his fans tried to brush it off as just an edgy joke, but most people weren't buying it. They were rightfully disgusted and pushed back hard, writing, "Before people say it's a joke, the message of the joke is that he finds a 10-year-old hot. And even if the second tweet is a joke, that's a big fucking if. How could anyone possibly explain the first tweet where he explicitly asks for pictures of a 10-year-old to evaluate if she..."
It's a joke until action is called upon. It's no longer a joke. And if you consider it and you try to hold on to what it is, then perhaps there's a bias there that's not allowing you to see the bigger picture. It's kind of the theme of the video so far.
He's hot. Now, this alone would have been enough to bury most creators. But with Destiny, this is barely the tip of the iceberg. Because in addition to being a massive, unapologetic creep, he also has a history of justifying extreme violence against others without a shred of remorse. And one of the most prominent examples of this is his continued apathy towards Palestinian people, like boldly declaring that he's quote pro-genocide and that the Palestinians can go live somewhere else, all while laughing maniacally.
Honestly, I'm pro-genocide. It sounds really shitty, but like I think that Israel should just draw its borders about where it is now, and basically Palestinians can go live in another place. That's really shitty, but like that's about where I'm at.
Or claiming that the Palestinian genocide doesn't exist because according to him, if Israel wanted to genocide Palestinians, then they would only exist in history books. Maybe Destiny thought this was a clever argument to support his claims, and from the looks of things, he was likely trying to argue the semantics of the word genocide, but it backfired spectacularly. Regardless of his intentions, many people online pointed out how tone-deaf and cruel his comments were, tearing apart his logic with responses like, quote, "It's only genocide when the job is done," is a hell of a take. And imagine saying the Holocaust wasn't a genocide because the Nazis didn't get every single Jew. Destiny is just receiving new loads of idiocy. That said, this wasn't the worst of it. The controversy escalated even further during his March 31st, 2024 stream, where he somehow managed to hit new levels of absurdity. About 2 hours and 20 minutes into the stream, Destiny came across a tweet reading, "An unprecedented TV investigation by CNN captures some of the cases documented by the Euromed HR of the sniper operations and killings by the Israeli army of Palestinian citizens carrying white flags." This piqued Destiny's interest, leading to him watching the video attached to the tweet. At one point in the video, a person gets shot and his wife runs towards him in grief. And instead of showing any sympathy, this is what he had to say after watching this play out.
So you're saying the woman was acting? I don't think the woman was acting. She probably was sincerely sad. Her husband got fucking killed. But I think they were farming TikTok clips.
This was a bit too far, even for his own viewers. But when his chat tried to call him out on this, he responded with something even more degenerate.
Destiny, come on. How is this not pure dehumanization of these people? Even look at chat's reaction. This is fucked. Because they're doing it to themselves. You're dehumanizing yourself. You're suiciding and sacrificing your civilian population.
A comment on YouTube also points out the irony of a streamer claiming that the people in the video were farming TikToks. Reading, holy shit, Destiny just watched execution footage and said that the very clearly innocent civilians who were doing everything in their power to get to safety, being shot at, were farming TikToks. This guy is watching this on a live stream, which he is definitely making money from. What is this world that I live in? That said,
These people aren't the ones farming TikToks. The people that are using the misery and suffering of others as propaganda are farming. It's a yes and no. They're not going out and dying for the sake of TikTok, right? This isn't some backwards, degenerate American culture that's eating Tide Pods, right? Let's never go back to that era. But the point is that people are using this. Is this why they're dying? No, I don't think so. But people are using this. And how often has this been used as propaganda before? The suffering and the torturing of others, the unfair circumstances and conditions of others. It plays on empathy. It plays on emotion. It keeps people in this compassionately tolerant phase of wanting to help or be on the side of X because the side of Y is the one causing it, right? And we've seen that for years now. This is not new. However, saying that this is specifically yet again to these people's, they're dying on purpose, that's the part, right, where it's a little.
Destiny's reckless endorsement of extreme violence extends far beyond the Israel-Palestine conflict. In a live stream, he also supported the idea of black rioters getting gunned down by white militia during the BLM protests.
The rioting needs to fucking stop. And if that means like white redneck fucking militia dudes out there mowing down dipshit protesters that think that they could torch buildings at 10 p.m., then at this point they have my fucking blessing, because holy shit, this fucking shit needs to stop. It needed to stop a long time ago. Like holy fuck.
Granted, he was referring to violent rioters who were destroying property during protests, but for most people, suggesting that an unrelated group should just come in and gun down civilians crosses a line. He crossed a similar line when he insinuated that the innocent person who died at the Donald Trump shooting somehow deserved it because of his political leanings.
Fuck the dude, the firefighter guy, fuck Trump, fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay, just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm, whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter.
The backlash for this was swift and intense, resulting in his Twitter account getting demonetized. He also received a temporary ban from Kick, which was surprising considering how long it took them to ban literal PDF files like Riot Lol, with a commenter stating, "If you get banned on Kick, you're a special type of special." However, this didn't stop him from repeating the same rhetoric in later videos.
But it's another thing to mock a innocent Trump supporter that died. The guy didn't have any power. He wasn't a politician. He was just a dude. I don't like—
He wasn't just a dude. He was a guy that was posting a ton of inflammatory shit on his social media, who was at a rally for one of the most inflammatory candidates of all time.
This also highlights—
Isn't that kind of ironic though? And then obviously Sean Head in her most recent video covered the idea of how most political commentators have inflammatory statements because obviously they stick to one side or the other. And so because they're sticking to one side or the other, they seem like extremes in comparison to the people who expose or demonstrate both sides of the argument. And so people who should die because of that.
It's a crucial part of Destiny's character. Put simply, he does not fear the consequences of his actions. Or at least, that was true until his latest controversy, one that could ruin his life forever.
I mean, it's also going back to the same argument of why empathy is selective in the eyes of those with superiority complexes. Because, like I said before, they're never going to view the people they disagree with or those that disagree with them as people. No, you can die. It's okay for you to die because you don't agree with me. You're not on my side. So I don't view you as a human being. And it's in that monstrosity where we lose a little bit of our humanity. It's antisocial by far. And antisocial behaviors such as this is committed the most by psychopathic monsters, sociopathic monsters, who can remain out of incarceration and out of prison because they're not actively doing the things that they're saying, or at least they're not being caught doing the things that they're saying. And this is where the intelligence can kind of get into the ability of people staying outside of prison because they understand the moral implications of civil law. And if they understand that, they know how to dance around it for the most part. That's not to take away the idea or the hypothesis that if there was no law, would there be more monsters? It's kind of a pointless question almost.
It all started on November the 9th, 2024, when a person named Solo Tiny Leaks posted a few cryptic messages on the Destiny forum on a site called Kiwi Farms, which is a message board infamous for doxing and leaks. These messages read, "Is this stuff public yet? Not sure if it's any interest of you guys. I only sent to a few streamers. What exactly can I leak here? I want to dump everything. It's about to be a very white Christmas." Alongside these, Solo Tiny Leaks also uploaded dozens of attachments, including screenshots of his conversations with multiple people, and explicit videos of him and his partners. But before we get into these leaks, we need some important context involving Destiny and his ex-wife Melina. Melina and Destiny were in an open relationship where they were allowed to see other people as long as the other partner knew about them. However, in mid-2023, rumors began circulating the internet that Destiny was secretly dating another creator by the name of Lauren Southern. This was quite odd, considering Lauren's political leanings towards being a white nationalist. Destiny, on the other hand, claimed to be on the liberal left, essentially the exact opposite of Lauren. So if the two were actually dating, that would go against everything Destiny was preaching through his content. Viewers also began speculating if Melina was aware of this supposed relationship and began asking her for answers. And even though she was appearing more and more in his content as time went on, Destiny continued to deny any romantic involvement with Lauren. During this time, Melina and Destiny also got divorced, adding even more fuel to the rumor mill. However, for the next few months, it just remained that, a rumor. That is, until these leaks by Solo Tiny Leaks, which included screenshots of messages between Destiny and Lauren, confirming that they were indeed a thing. The leaks also included a transcript of the last message Lauren sent to Destiny before breaking up, showing just how close the two were. More importantly, the messages revealed that Destiny was actually cheating on Melina without her knowledge, something she later confirmed in a video. She also talked about how Destiny said that she was crazy and needed therapy when she brought up the possibility of him having an affair with Lauren.
I didn't know about it, that's the thing. Like, I could sense something, but I got told that I was crazy and that what I felt was wrong. And like, I got told to go to therapy.
Put simply, these leaks confirmed that Destiny, 1, didn't care about politics as much as he presented in his streams and videos, and 2, that he was a liar who managed to cheat on his wife despite being in an open relationship. This enraged most of his loyal fans who felt like they were being lied to for years, with one viewer referring to Destiny as a quote, "Weasley little liar dude." However, the backlash from this cheating drama was quickly overshadowed by something far more sinister. You see, the leaks also included dozens of videos of Destiny being intimate with his many partners. Most people assumed that Solo Tiny Leaks somehow gained access to Destiny's phone or computer and stole these videos from there, but the reality was far more disturbing. As it turns out, Destiny had actually willingly shared these videos with a 19-year-old girl on Discord called Rose in exchange for pictures of her feet, and she was the one who got hacked by
Let's just get past the names of some of these people.
by Solo Tiny Leaks. To make matters worse, Destiny shared these videos without asking for permission from his partners, who were also clearly visible in them. This included his ex-wife, who confirmed that he shared what's basically revenge her without her consent or knowledge.
Things that just happened, the past month, things that's been done to me, without consent or anything. That has been my past 5 years. that energy, you know?
After learning about these leaks, people also started digging through Destiny's old content. And it didn't take long for someone to find a clip of him admitting to having a collection of such videos that he shares with other people.
I kind of like have like my little archive of like Coomer material that I'll send to people if I want to. There were girls that I talked to past that I'd send stuff of like either me and Melina.
However, Melina was just one of the several partners who were visible in these videos. The second victim was a streamer named Pixie. But unlike Melina, who just wanted to stay as far away from Destiny as possible, Pixie went on the offensive. She contacted Destiny directly and asked for financial compensation in exchange for sharing her explicit videos without her consent. In a conversation with one of Destiny's friends, she wrote, "I want this to be the most expensive mistake of his life, and I'm essentially asking him to self-punish himself in a way I don't think he'll like or agree to without the law involved." When this conversation became public, some people started hating her for trying to extort Destiny, while others fully supported her plan, with one person writing, "Maybe I have shitty morals, but I don't take issue with her attempting to extort him in the way she did. There's no guarantee that she would have gotten anything the legal way with the power and money imbalance he has
Yeah, you have a problem with your morals.
over her, and I would guess that if it went to courts and fans found out, she would be endlessly harassed compared to if he paid privately." However, the backlash from people who disagreed with her approach caused her to do a complete 180, which she announced in a tweet reading, "On November 29, the streamer Destiny non-consensually shared my nudes, making me a victim of revenge porn. I will be suing him in federal court." Alongside this, she also shared a lengthy statement detailing her story and the exact charges she plans to bring against Destiny. That said, at least both Pixie and Melina were aware that they were being recorded, even if the videos were later shared without their consent. Destiny's third victim, on the other hand, didn't even know that much. On January 21st, 2020.
I mean, either way, it's not a good light for you to try to fall into degeneracy, extort based off degeneracy, and then when that doesn't work, go public with your degeneracy. You're not winning in any statement, and nor... I guess this is where those kind of relationships get you, right? The open marriages, open relationships, open this, open... Yeah, you need a little more than that to learn about people.
25, streamer Cherry shared her side of the story on Twitter, stating, "Today, I was made aware of an intimate audio recording taken of me without my consent. That was also shared without my consent. I'm upset right now, and I'm going to give myself time to process." In a later tweet, she confirmed that she was also filing a police report against Destiny. Destiny's initial response to this whole thing, however, was more nonchalant than it should have been.
$20 says Melina recently confirmed that the sex tapes leaked by Destiny.
Jesus Christ.
E-girl were shared by Destiny without
Good one.
consent.
Good one. Nice. Yes.
If she has no legal
I've got a whole bunch of super chats for you. Wick, ready?
Even the title of his lackluster statement on Reddit, "Legal arc beginning in mysterious ways, such wow," was as unserious as possible. More importantly, it didn't provide the answers people were looking for, with the top comment under this post reading, "I want one answer and one answer only. Did you send Pixie's blanks non-consensually to someone you were chatting with on Discord? Your post does not answer this." However, while most people criticized him for this weak and incomplete response, one person chose to give Destiny the benefit of the doubt, writing, "The evidence of that is clear in other places. The answer is yes. What is unknown is if Destiny had some conversation with Pixie that would lead him to believe he could share these videos privately with others. What this person most likely didn't expect at the time was that their speculation might turn out to be the truth." On the 21st of February 2025, Destiny came out with his second response, which is a lot more comprehensive than anything he said before, suggesting that he's finally taking the matter seriously. He shared a lengthy file containing his statement, including links to screenshots supporting his claims. He also went over the whole thing during a live stream.
On January 20th, 2025, Pixie created a Substack post, which you can see here, signaling her intent to sue me. She has since filed her lawsuit in which she claims I shared explicit material we created together without her permission.
One of the first points he addressed is why it took him this long to come out with a statement. And according to Destiny, a big reason behind his delayed response is because Pixie asked him not to confirm that she was part of these leaks. Reading, "Once the leaker published and hosted all of my explicit content on Kiwi Farms, Pixie messaged me and informed me that she didn't want confirmation of her in any part of the material. As such, I made no public statement regarding any of her appearance in any of the leaked material. Destiny also included screenshots of a conversation between them to back this claim, reading, "I don't want to have to testify or be named or anything. As far as people ask me, I'm saying it's a lookalike. Yeah, okay, I haven't confirmed/denied anything at all publicly and I never will do so. And I'll double check with you before anything ever gets mentioned in a police report or court order or anything. I don't foresee this being a thing, just in case. Please don't tell anyone privately either if they ask if it's actually me or not." From there, he discussed his perspective on the timeline of this controversy and how things unfolded from his point of view. The most significant part of this statement, however, came near the end, where Destiny claimed that Pixie wasn't as innocent as she seemed, stating, "Pixie would message people to tell them that she had never ever sent videos of other people to me before, and she portrayed herself in her Substack as though I was the first person to ever suggest this to her, and I was the first person she ever recorded material with." This statement and implication, however, are both false. She'd sent videos of her and other guys multiple times prior to us ever meeting, and requested material from me as well. It was also her who suggested multiple times that we record stuff when we meet later in 2020. Destiny also alleged that she never mentioned having consent of the men who were in these videos with her. Put simply, he's claiming that even though there was never any explicit consent to share those videos, Pixie's past behavior made it so that consent was assumed. After all, according to Destiny, she was repeatedly sending explicit videos of her and others to him, and possibly others without consent, and wanted to record videos herself.
And if that's based off his word of mouth, then obviously it's questionable, but this was obviously an ideal target for this kind of behavior anyways, because she was already enacting this kind of behavior on her own, but because she portrayed herself as a victim, because she didn't get her way in reference to the extortion, it's just like monsters dabbling with monsters. It drifted away a little bit from, obviously, Destiny's the focus. Now it's looking at this person pretty intently. Let's keep it going.
Then ended the statement by providing some behind-the-scenes updates on the lawsuit, including the fact that Pixie asked for a $15 million compensation during early negotiations. Now, while this response did manage to win over some fans and bring them back to Destiny's side, with comments like, "I mean, not gonna lie, the fact that Pixie shared a bunch of other people's shit completely changes my perspective on the matter. That's effing insane." And not gonna lie, while Destiny's brought this situation on himself, by the nature of mentally unstable women he engages with, he absolutely eviscerated Pixie in this, and she absolutely overplayed her victim status in this scandal. It's still not everything.
But that's not the entirety of the story, because what's also being done is that they are being preyed upon in the essence of what he's trying to achieve. We can say that, yes, this is the behavior that they're more likely to enact, correct, and that makes them a target. Just because they're a target doesn't mean they have to be shot at. And the thing is, in this case, being the predator allows you to extract the exact situation or environment that you're seeking to prey upon. That happens in both sides. So if you have a woman who is involved in such behaviors, well, then she's going to create a scenario for a man who wants those kind of behaviors to exist. And they're both get it. They're both equally guilty, nor does that diminish the degeneracy of either. They're both kind of caught in this cycle of terrible pursuits.
Thing the community was hoping for. For instance, this response almost entirely focused on Pixie and the lawsuit she filed against Destiny, yet it makes no mention of his alleged affair with Lauren Southern or Cherry, who claimed that she didn't even know she was being recorded by Destiny. That said, recording and distributing explicit material without consent is a serious crime. If Pixie's lawsuit succeeds, Destiny could face up to 5 years behind bars and be forced to register as a sex offender, effectively destroying his future. Even if the lawsuit doesn't go through, Destiny is not coming out of this unscathed. The damage to his reputation is already severe and will have long-lasting consequences for his future as a content creator. But given the somewhat positive response to his latest response, maybe he still has a chance to bounce back. Only time will tell.
So that was the video covering Destiny's recent behavior and perspectives that he's put forth on social media platforms and the like, reference to legal documents. Now, the idea of Destiny becoming a sex offender, here's the perspective on that. If he wants to say that he was just saying inflammatory things, outrageous things for the sake of views and fame, you're still going to have to pay the piper. Now, if it wasn't from that case and it was from a genuine perspective that this is what he believes, he was kind of already enacting that kind of behavior to begin with. And I think that that plays a pretty extensive part on that perspective and having that as an outcome. Now, obviously, you'd like to avoid that kind of outcome, considering the life that implies for you and how you're kind of known from that point forward, as well as if you're supported in that way or not. I think that enough immorality has been present, not only in the sense of soul, but in the sense of civil law, to have that as an outcome. Now, I was going to think about how this associates with his political party and the stances that he's chosen to take and the way that he's appeared on various platforms. Let's keep it specific to the person and the behavior. One of the key things that I want everyone to learn from this is a lot of people think that these kind of immoral pursuits and pursuits of degeneracy is their perspective of finding happiness. It's not. The pursuit of happiness isn't really the case in today's society anymore. And I know that that's a tough question to ask. If I am actually pursuing happiness, or perhaps I'm pursuing avoidance, how likely is it that we as a society, especially in the United States, have stopped pursuing happiness and have now been tailored to pursue avoidance and avoidance of things, avoidance from anxiety, pain, or various detrimental outcomes that we don't want to embrace or deal with for whatever reason it may be. And I think that what a lot of people who haven't grown up yet or have this obsession of power and sexual gratification, things of the sort, obviously there's a disparity of immaturity there that hasn't really been reached. And I think in these cases, we've seen more often than not that it's really just a pursuit of avoidance, because by pursuing these short-term successes, it allows us to not feel or think or be a part of the thing that is currently real in our reality. Naturally, we just have it under different guises: decompression, stress, ways to escape, travel, change of scenery, change of environment, change of things consistently. Various words that can be used interchangeably for the same outcome. It's just that we've slapped a new acceptable label on it because that's easier for us to understand, and it's also easier for us to live with. Because one way to adequately define a pursuit of happiness, it's very synonymous to the pursuit of purpose, the pursuit of direction, something that grants peace in longevity or content in longevity, not in momentous feelings. And it's often through avoidance that we achieve momentous respite, depending on what our lives are currently filled with. And I think that that method of pursuit makes it seem like we're pursuing the things that make us happy and feel good, even though it's fleeting and it's gone. And a lot of the times these people can be highly medicated as they pursue these things, or they think that that's the reason why they're pursuing these things. At the end of the day, if you're immature, there's no amount of medication that's going to drift you from being immature or mature. It's just you're still going to have these character defects. You're still going to have these inadequacies. It just means that you'll have a different temperament perhaps on your behavior. And that's all it's really going to accomplish. And in the essence of these pursuits of avoidance and finding the short-term thing to feel better, because immediate gratification in itself is a monster, because delayed gratification is really the only exponential growth that we can typically find to get out of the rut that we may or may not see ourselves in. The relation of that to someone like Destiny is to understand that people in these positions concrete themselves in these pursuits because that is what they labeled it. And if they can label it as such, then they're going to give themselves the conditioned response to think this is what they're supposed to be doing. There's a form of compassion and empathy for these people. Now, the thing is, and the thing that I've described previously, is that as long as that compassion and empathy doesn't get weaponized in order to dehumanize other people, you see it in the various superiority complex that people tend to have. If you don't agree with them, well, then you're less, and now you're not deserving of empathy. And that's kind of how it can be weaponized as well. But in the cases of the people that do not have that kind of complex, they're going to view empathy and compassion in a universal and unconditional sense. The only thing is, in reference to weaponizing it, as long as you do not get preyed upon in the process. That doesn't mean that you apply unconditional charity to a monster who is still trying to learn who they are. Just because they're immoral, just because they're practicing degeneracy or they're severely tied to addiction or immediate gratifications and they haven't grown up. Maybe they're immature. Maybe they have all these problems. That doesn't make them less. That makes them lost. And just because they're lost, that doesn't mean they're deserving of some form of hatred or condemnation for being lost. They need help. And like I said, that doesn't mean that you allow yourself to be preyed upon on the intention of charity. No, because that's going to allow more predatory practices and outcomes to exist. You're going to allow this person wiggle room to return to the person that they are. And guess what? That leads to that cycle of more avoidance. And this pursuit of avoidance is very adamant in current society. I think the idea of tough love was in the essence of firm and conscious guidance. That doesn't mean you allow their trespass, but it does mean that you can still believe in them. And I think that everyone has a lost person in their life where this can be applied to. And then if you don't know of a lost person, perhaps you are the lost person, in which case you should listen closely. Clearly, some people have much more work to do than others. But I think the current story of Destiny and his current destiny is an obvious and good example of how far people can fall and still be understood. It's not in the essence of believing that what he does or says is right. I don't stand on that side, but I understand how lost he is. And I know what that looks like amongst people who have failed to conquer chaos throughout their life. There's a lot of issues there that still have to be worked out. And I know that people view that as a form of being patronizing or a moral high ground, right? And if the outcome was to make you feel less, and that was the pure intention of saying so, then yeah. There's a lot of times where religion has been used as the moral high ground to judge and condemn others. But judgment, like I've said in previous videos, is very necessary. And it's very critical for people to become more than what they are. And that's kind of what that statement of being lost is affirming. It's essentially saying that you can be way more than what you are right now. But right now is not all that you can be. It's not in the essence that you're being condemned for who you are now. It's in the idea that it's a necessary judgment to uplift you to what you should believe in about yourself. Condemnation, on the other hand, is not. Sure, you can condemn various unlawful or immoral behaviors. Yeah, we do that all the time. But just because you can condemn a behavior doesn't mean you have to condemn the person. And I think that we take shotgun blasts at this concept a little too often, and we condemn whole people instead. You got liberals condemning conservatives. You got conservatives condemning liberals. We are becoming too broad stroke with how we view people. And the more we do stuff like this, the less human we are. We got to understand in the human condition that we can fall victim to behaviors at any given point. That doesn't necessarily make us less, like I said. That just makes us lost. And some people take longer to be found than others. Sometimes it's a personal choice. And regardless of how dark someone's hole is and how far deep they crawl into it, it doesn't take away that stance that I have. It doesn't take away the belief that I have either. It also means that I'm not going to allow people to take from me. And no matter how many false intention or false promises are kept, I'm going to have that firm hand. And I think that when people genuinely care about your direction, they're going to develop an expectation of you. Not in a sense that they see where you're going, but they expect the best from you, so they challenge you more often. And that's the kind of environment that I have for me and those around me. It can get a little hot at times. It can be a little conflicting at times, but at the end of the day, that's much more meaningful in the long term than just blindly supporting for the sake of trying to show someone you're on their side. And I think that we kind of have to disconnect a little bit from that, because that's kind of what you're seeing in these massive audience type platforms where they see someone that's their person that they're following at the time. So it's just blind faith. We got to get away from that a little bit. And perhaps these internet heroes aren't really heroes. With that being said, thank you to everyone for watching the video. If you liked the video, like it. If you enjoyed the content so far, like I said in the beginning, try subscribing. If you dislike the video, then dislike it. Hopefully you never see me again. But leave a comment in the comment section down below of what you think and how do you judge the situation that's kind of transpired, or the situation that other well-known streamers and how that popularity can kind of affect you at times. Let me know your perspective down below. Looking forward to it. Thanks again, and I'll go ahead. See you next time.